僧听，为此法会济一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速证无生。Build the Sangha with great virtue out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma view to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss, and then birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the Blessed Noble and Perfectly Enlightened One.
Homage to the Blessed Noble and Perfectly Enlightened One.
Namo Sadanto Suchedoye Alahari Sanmyao Sanputoshe.
Namo Sadanto Suchetoye Alahadi Samyao Samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Alrighty. Thank you very much, Monica, for the Dharma request. We will now go ahead and invite the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas from the Flower Garland Assembly to draw near. Request them to come and bless everyone, make things auspicious, and ensure that the Dharma lecture is 如法成就。我们就殷请华严海会佛菩萨还有天龙八部护法神神，就希望他们都会参加我们的法会就祝福各位。同时呢，他们都证明我们所行所做就如法成就，这是我们的要求。Okay, let me make sure my banjo is tuned. Here we go. Here we go. All in tune. 调符好了。南无大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨，南无大方广佛华严经，华严海会佛菩萨，南无南 And furthermore, we would like to recognize the Pomo people who practice spiritual connections to the earth and to all creation here on their ancestral land for tens of thousands of years. Today, we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands, and we offer our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 这时候，我们恭敬地承认，Pomo人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Bells sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's lie is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众常传3000界内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他诺后德。哇，中文还没有念完了啊！中文已经念完了，这个引擎还在响，这是好的引擎。The bell was still ringing even after I finished reading the Chinese. The last hit. Oh my goodness. So, welcome everybody. 欢迎各位. Let's see who is here. Monica is in Ukiah. She's our Dharma requester from DRBU. Let's see here. Alec is in Vancouver. Alan's in Ukiah. Barbara's in around CDDB somewhere. Binshin is in Shanghai. Bob is there also. I don't know where Barb and Ernie live. Let's see, Bob and Fran and Barb and Ernie live in relation to each other somewhere near Cow Mountain, there in the Ukiah Valley. All right. Celeste is here from Hong Kong. Mr. Guo from Los Angeles. Connie and Samantha are here. Guokuk is in Alameda. Daisy's in Taipei. Ni Dingming's in Heilongjiang. Donna is there at her email address. Duke Leban's in Montreal, in the eastern townships. Let's see here. Elaine, 2 Elaines are here. Fanny Wong, Miss Guan. Guan Kim Hung. Oh, wow, glad you're here. 欢迎阿关. Hua Tan is here from Beijing. Jan is here from Oregon. Jane from Berkeley. Jason from Northern California. Jenny from Seattle. Kelly from Alameda, if I'm not mistaken. Kim is here, and Mr. Lim. Linda from San Francisco. Lingfeng is here. Hi, Lingfeng. See you at Poetry next week. Liz from New York. Chinatown. Glad you're here, Liz. Mai from the Bay Area, another Mai from her cell phone. Marion is listening in. Min Lee. Guojian is here from Alameda. Welcome, Guojian. Let's see here. Sarah and Michael. Wow, we have the whole crew of senior disciples are here. Sky Dung from Calgary. Terry is here. Yep, that's the whole gang. Let's see here. Tina from Oklahoma. Tran Guoji from Alameda. Let's see, that DRBA is our Vietnamese translator. That must be our from Alameda as well. Willie from Virginia. Mr. Yi from Calgary. Yuan is here from Ukiah. Yvonne from Malaysia. And then Mr. Lin from Newray Park. Okay, that's the end of the English language friends. That's about half, I think, of our currently 97 folks. Then we switch over to Taipei. Nali, Malaysia, Harbin, Liaoning, Heilongjiang, 唐山、北京、天津还有什么地方？湖南 ，OK， 湖南省。Let's see here， 西安、黑龙江。Let's see here， 安徽、宿州 ，OK， 浙江、兰海、浙江。你是州、县还是市、城？城市、县不知道。浙江、兰海、兰海、浙江。新北市还有那就台北山西宝鸡吉林 ，OK， 安徽淮南市然后呢张家口，然后苏州，然后北京湖北黄冈 ，OK， 还有什么地方？河北唐山云南昆明 ，OK， 然后成为北京、浙江、海南、西雅图、黑龙江、哈尔滨、吉隆坡、辽宁、山东、济南市 ，OK， 还有呢，深圳、黑龙江、朝阳、洛阳、江苏、河南，还有902 ，OK， 哇哦 ，So 应该就说谁可以告诉我，你如果念通常念中国的一些地方，你是有唐山河北还是河北唐山？你是就说东北黑龙江、东北哈尔滨还是哈尔滨东北？怎么说呢？那通常这么做。Let's see here, mostly 河北唐山 OK, province first. Good, got it. Thank you. 那先念州，然后那个省，然后城。OK, province first. 美国相反，美国就 Toledo, Ohio. 就 Miami, Florida 这样子，县城市后州或者省。OK, so let's get into it. We'll close this and go to our text. Here it is, right there. We still have quite a few of our 无着无缚解脱心 vows, the unattached, unbound, liberated mind, reading the vows first. Okay. Ready? Here we go. 请各位合掌，以无着无缚解脱心修普贤行，得一方便智。知一方便，所谓let's see， 得一切方便智，知一切方便对了，所谓无量方便、不思议方便、菩萨方便、一切智方便、一切菩萨调伏方便、转无量法轮方便、不可说实方便、说种种法方便。无边际无畏藏方便，说一切法无语方便。So this is one vow, but it's 10 divisions, 10 subdivisions of the vow. Let's do the whole thing. Here we go. You all want to read it with me? You're welcome to do that. Here we go. May all cultivate Samantabhadra's practices with a liberated mind free from attachments and bonds, attaining the skillful wisdom to understand all skillful means, countless skillful means, inconceivable skillful means, the skillful means of a bodhisattva, the skillful means of omniscient wisdom, the skillful means that all bodhisattvas use to tame and subdue, the skillful means that turn infinitely many dharma wheels, indescribable skillful means with regard to time, the skillful means of teaching various dharmas, the skillful means of a boundless treasury of fearlessness, and the skillful means of teaching all dharmas without exception. Okay. Okay. So this one goes like this. You can see it's one vow. This is a long vow, isn't it? Can you imagine the mind that created this vow? It's just any other transference. Like any other transference, you say, may all become Buddhas together. That's the simplest dedication wish. This one has 10 subdivisions. Starts out like the others, may all cultivate Samantabhadra's practices. That's the 10 vows. And to do so, with a liberated mind that is free from attachments and bonds. So far, so good. Let's do number 1. Attaining the skillful wisdom to understand all skillful means. Okay, here it is. 得一切方便智, attaining the expedient, getting the wisdom of all expedients so as you can know all expedients. So the wisdom, you get the wisdom of all expedient skillful means, so that you can know, but here know, the key here to understand it is that word zhi, knowledge. Because there are people who will tell you, scholars of Chinese who will say that knowing in the Chinese philosophical world includes action. 知行合一. Knowing by itself isn't enough. That won't get you there. You need to both put it into practice before you truly know it. Really interesting idea that simply erudite, being able to talk a good fight is not the story. So, and then that's the chief one. That's the head one. That's number 1. And then it goes, so wait, what we mean by that is, and then we get the whole list. Okay, great vow. 我们通常在这60个一无着无负解脱心这些愿力就很多就也属于普贤菩萨，就有这么一个心，这么一个态度来修普贤菩萨的恒。普贤恒呢10个你们都熟了啊，然后你用无着无负解脱心来修呢，你就说就无拘无束的什么时候怎么做都看情形看因缘 ，right？ 然后修这些恒呢，就得一切方便，所以你可以知一切方便。什么叫知一切方便呢？所谓然后10个。重要呢，要明白这个呢，就是在这个字知。知呢，就知行合一，从那个新儒家那个从王阳明案就知行合一，在中国哲学、中国文化的哲学呢，你知道一个道理，知道一个方法。你不行的话，那就不全不圆满。你必须要，你知道多少，必须要去实行多少，那才算真正自己的了。你自己都会用。你如果单单知道呢，那就很干燥就说没有什么用的。你的左脑有这么一点的知识，可是呢，那个你就。好像什么？好像你吃那个菜单呢，不吃这个菜，不知道味道。OK， 所谓怎么样呢 ？Okay, the next one to go here, as we're going along here, thanks for hanging with me as we walk through these concepts, right? Skillful wisdom. Skillful wisdom, to understand skillful means countless inconceivable bodhisattva's omniscient wisdom, skill and means. So, what's going on? This is anybody who has listened to our teacher for probably one lecture understands how Shifu demonstrated skill and means with his understanding of how to teach disciples. for a bodhisattva, skill and means is how you get your vows, how you realize your vows. The thing about bodhisattvas is they take out a contract on living beings. I'm going to take them across. I'm going to help them wake up. I'm going to stand in for them and take on suffering that they themselves should have based on their behavior. But it would throw them so far back. They're so unable to cope with the karma that's coming to them. And I, says the Bodhisattva, have the strength to endure it without getting knocked off my feet. Meanwhile, I will give them something that they can handle so that they pay back their debts in time and move forward in the Dharma. That's what skillful means allows them to do. And behind it is patience. Because why? Many of these skillful means just go bust. They just don't work. For example, Shifu was in the Buddhist lecture hall, Waverly Place, and it was just too small. His own room was a closet, and the people had to go meditate up on the roof. When there was time to eat, you had to clear the books away, and after the food came, the books came back out, and it was just too small. So he found an an old decommissioned mattress factory on 15th Street and moved across. So now there were 3 floors, and it was a factory, so there was all this room. But what do you do when you have men and women trying to cultivate together? Well, the women are on the 2nd floor and the men are on the 3rd floor and the Buddha hall is on the bottom. Well, that's not so good, because what happened? Well, people started to fight among themselves. The women started to compete, the men started to compete, and the men and the women started to fight with each other. So that skillful means didn't work. So what did he do? He had to find another place for the women. And so he found the International Translation Institute over on Washington Street. It was donated by a layman. So then the women could go live over there and they wouldn't fight quite so much, except they would fight still among themselves, but that was half of the battle won. So then the city of 10,000 Buddhas comes along, and that's big enough that people get lost and they don't have as much energy to fight with each other because there's just, you don't see anybody for an entire day as you wander around. So, right. So skillful means work hand in hand with patience, because many of the bodhisattvas' expedients just come to nothing because living beings are very hard to teach. Yes, we living beings are, no doubt. 就说什么叫方便？方便呢，是菩萨所用的教化众生的一些方法。要看到，要按照人，按照时间，按照这个很多方面，很多因缘，就他能懂不懂，他会不会懂你讲的话，那么他懂不懂你的微细的方面呢，或者比较粗糙的，很多，在这个方便智慧底下，或者就说方便智慧里边都有什么呢？都有忍耐心，一个很大的忍辱波罗蜜，忍耐。为什么？很多方便就破了，不行。既然就说虽然这么精巧，这么微细，应该很好的一个方便，令众生，令我们能接受，然后自己的那个道德可以进一步认识呢，自己的恶业可以少一点修呢，善业就可以增长多一点。虽然如此，可是呢，我们就想法子就破那个方便。哎呀，好比说呢， 商人在这个佛教讲堂在唐人街 Waverly 街，地方太小了，师父的疗房是像一个柜台差不多了。那么要吃饭的时候，又把翻译的书籍还有书本呢拿走，把那个筷子盘子拿出来，然后吃完了饭呢，又把书籍又拿出来，字典，地方太小了。好了，他找到一个破破烂烂的不用的一个工厂，做床单的工厂，在15街。那个地方比较多，比那个佛教讲堂大三倍啊，3层楼。那就说师父很难众在3楼啊，女众啊比丘尼们呢在2楼，佛殿啊厨房在1楼。那也可以啊，应该很好哈。不好，为什么呢？就女众跟女众来了吵架，男众跟男众再来吵架，男众跟女众再来吵架，大家因为刚刚开始修行，没有德行啊，就脾气就没有降服了，结果呢，就大家吵闹的，一天到晚在那儿找自己的毛病啊，就很不好过啊。那师父怎么做呢？拿到另外一座，就在华盛顿街一个叫国际易经学院，女众可以住那里。问题减少了一半啊，可是呢，女众还是跟女众一起吵，男众跟男众在那儿吵，可是呢，没有像以前那么吵闹。好，这些方面呢，因为众生的关系了，所以很困难。不过师父他说，他就用忍耐来那儿降服美国人、西方人，就这样子。无量方便、不思议方便、菩萨方便、一切智方便，到时候也会不行，也会破了，要另外找，从无量方便里边另外找。So from the middle of infinite, countless skillful means, you have to come up with some more. 一切菩萨调伏方便 skillful means that all bodhisattvas use to tame and subdue. How did Shifu do it? He lectured every single night for 90 minutes, and everybody was there. The entire small community would gather together at night in the Buddha Hall and listen to Shifu explain the Dharma. Now, we also hadn't eaten since noon. So when your stomach is empty, number one, the Dharma can fill you up. You really do 法喜充满, filled with the joy of Dharma. 禅悦为师, take the bliss of dhyana as food. So that's true. That's really true. You don't have as much energy, desire to fight when your stomach is not super comfortable with food. So that was one. And then because Shifu was doing things rufa, according to the Dharma, we were sitting on separate sides of the hall, and there wasn't a chance to get into arguments or to find faults and to gossip. We were listening instead to the Dharma, having the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas light there shining on us. So that was a large part of it. Listening to Shifu for 90 minutes every night, we were bathing in proper light, crossing over our karmic obstacles. So that was an important part too. And Shifu would use his pulpit, his microphone, to infuse us, perfume us with the right views. He would say, you have to do more merit and virtue. You have to get rid of the greed that says that you have to be number one. That's just fighting. Don't you understand? Shifu would use the 6 guidelines to correct our views. And of course, people would forget them right away, but we'd hear them again the next night, and bit by bit, we would learn the right way. So that's another kind of expedient means, skillful means. 那么师父就会这样子，我们晚上就每一天晚上90分钟就听师父在那儿讲经说法，有讲经听经的时候，我们就有佛菩萨，有三宝的光明，清净的光明在那围绕，就顺我们的身心我有把我们的邪见就成正见那么师父就趁这个机会就讲解就转法轮就说说种种法方便，他都会说你们要多做善功德，你们要勤修戒定慧，熄灭贪嗔痴。然后他就说你们尽量的不要争第一，你们美国人呢就知道争第一你们要让而不争。然后他会讲那个六大宗旨他就会说你们不争不贪不求不自私不自利，不要大妄语你的心地都会发起这个善良健康的菩提心他都会说所以就用这些无边际无畏藏方便，说一切法无欲方便。Okay, so Shifu would use that opportunity to teach Dharma and to get us back on the right track. So if we didn't have this incredible teacher coming up with so many different means to teach us, who knows whether Gold Mountain would have survived, whether City of 10,000 Buddhas would even exist at this point. So these are, you don't want to underestimate the power of these, of a bodhisattva's expedience in skill in teaching. And all they want to do is to take us, we living beings, and help us clean up. So when we see proper dharmas, we recognize them. And when we see negativity, we turn away from it. When we see poison, we don't drink it, right? It's tough. Think of what's ahead of someone who says, oh, I don't like you in my country, so I'm going to pull you out of your life, cause you physical harm, send you into a prison, just because I don't happen to like you. You don't look like my idea of who I want to live beside, so you get out of my country. Think of the karma ahead of someone who does that, and does it to thousands of people. And yet, that's our world. That's the world we live in. So there are other worlds. Luckily, when you read the Avatamsaka, you understand that worlds come about because of things that people do, that the worlds are no more permanent than you could say a snowflake. They're longer lasting, but not all that much. There's empty space, and then there's karma that collects into a world. And the world reflects the behavior and the thinking, importantly, of the people who live there. So our world is half and half. There's incredible pain and suffering brought on through ignorance, and then there's also this path to awakening. And in the hard times, those who, like the hard times like we're in right now, people who recognize the Dharma have to come forward to keep it going, keep the light, to keep the lamp lit, so that those who can find it can go through that door and encounter the Buddha Dharma in this difficult time. Okay, here we go. Next bow. 以无着无负解脱心，住普贤恒，成就身业，令一切众生见者欢喜，不生毁谤，发菩提心，永不退转，究竟清净。May all abide in Samantabhadra's practices with a liberated mind, free from attachments and bonds, perfecting all of his conduct. May they inspire all living beings to delight in seeing them and never slander them, to resolve upon Bodhi without ever retreating, and to attain ultimate purity. My goodness. Notice how Samantabhadra's vows are a part of all this. Abide in Samantabhadra's practices, here to go, with a liberated mind free of attachments and bonds, bringing, here's the verb, chengjiu, accomplishing all of his physical behavior, shenyet, bringing to perfection all of his physical behavior. Because the 10 vows of Samantabhadra, bowing is the body, praising is the voice, offering is the body, repenting is the body, requesting is moving to the mind. So from then on, it goes into the mind. But those first 4 all have to do with physical behavior. And then, so if somebody does those things, particularly the bowing, so living beings, when they see them, feel happy and don't slander them. They bring forth the resolve, never retreat, and get to purity, finally. That is the result of Samantabhadra's practices. Where do we find that? If you go to chapter 40 of the Avatamsaka, that is, there's 3 portions, 3 parts of that chapter. There's the 10 vows, there's the results of the 10 vows, then there's the repeating verses. And the results portion is amazing. Talks about how special Samantabhadra is, what an incredible bodhisattva he is. In his adornments, just the way he looks, are the most refined and sublime of all bodhisattvas because of the practices that he does. He's like so we talk about 84,000 Dharma methods. Well, he's the keeper of the keys. He is the librarian, the archivist for all 84,000. And that's why he's called Great Practices. And when he shows up, the results of all of that cultivation just make him look absolutely splendid. Samantabhadra is the most incredible looking bodhisattva. He rides an elephant, mind you, and the elephant has 6 tusks and has lots of little elephants surrounding. So the elephant himself is a bodhisattva who has made vows to protect Samantabhadra. So this is I've long wanted to see Samantabhadra in person with my own eyes. Someday, maybe, some lifetime. I hope I will. Because that chapter really opened my appetite, opened my wish to see both Samantabhadra and Manjushri Bodhisattva. So someday. 就说如果我们修普贤行的话，那个10大愿望的话，那个效果，那个结果是什么呢？那个果报是什么？你修得圆满的话，尤其这个身业呢，就是第1、第2、第3、第4礼敬诸佛，称赞如来，广施供养，忏悔业障，那个是身体做的其他6个呢，心里做的那么这个你如果跟着就成就普贤圣业的话那个果报就是你的外表也像普贤菩萨，很清净，很庄严大家一见了，一看了就羡慕，就恭敬了不想诽谤不会，太感动了那个普贤行愿品第40品分3个部分，第一个部分就是10大愿第2个部分就是修这个10大愿的果报， 那个什么利益。第三呢，就是重诵，就把前边这个长行再说一遍，用寄诵。就那个第二个部分，那个好处那个利益那个就讲说普贤菩萨做他的六压大白象，是谁看到他，无论是天龙八部是人是天就羡慕，就非常非常恭敬这个普贤菩萨。然后那个就说你也可以像他这样子受人天的恭敬。为什么呢？因为普贤菩萨他是大恒普贤王菩萨，所有的这个84000法门他都懂的，他都会的，他是专家他是修行的这个专家。所以我们如果愿意像他这样子都可以的。我将来哪一生机缘成熟了，我很想亲自恭敬供养接近普贤菩萨还有文殊师利菩萨，看将来。Okay, we're going to take a break from the Avatamsaka right now and move over to Restore Bodhisattva. Let's see. I think I've got Restore images. Let's see here. Okay, let's go here. Here he is. Earth Treasury, Bodhisattva. Here he is. The thing that I enjoy the most, the thing that caught my attention first about Restore Bodhisattva were the stories about, see who's here, I've got somebody, there we go. The stories about his connection to his mother and also to women. And the stories are told not just one lifetime, but multiple lifetimes, where Earth Treasury Bodhisattva, after his mother passed away, in different stories, different lifetimes, he followed her, didn't just say, oh, it's over, I don't know where you went, bit by bit I'll forget about you. No, he did not. Instead, he thought, he went to ask the Buddha and Pracheka Buddha how he could bring his mother to the heavens or into liberation from birth and death. And there's one of the stories where it says he sold everything he possessed in order to make an offering. So he went into voluntary poverty just out of sincerity to save his mother. Who can do that? Well, our teacher, for one, certainly. This is a very moving story. And it's how the sutra begins. And it's not just once, it's multiple stories of women in particular who wanted to repay the kindness of their mothers. Super, I didn't know anybody who had ever thought of such a thing growing up until I got to Gold Mountain Monastery and heard stories of our teacher and Master Empty Cloud and Master Changren and Master Changzhi, that this was a practice among Buddhist monks, this kind of connection to the roots of your life. And further, there was even more. Later on in the sutra, Restore Bodhisattva talks about his talks about details that women in their female bodies could definitely benefit from, such as stories about childbirth, stories about how to make offerings correctly, stories about you can have a better female body if you choose, or you can come back as a male if you choose. Just incredible karmic engineering that's part of Restore Bodhisattva. So these were so impressive. 就说我第一次读到《地藏菩萨本愿经》，玄华上人给我拿一本，就告诉我一定要念诵。我就最感动就是这个地藏菩萨他曾经做女人有2次，他母亲已经去世了，他没有像一般人就说，哎呀，我悲哀，慢慢的时间过了我就忘了，不会那么痛，没有这样子，他就说我愿意继续为我母亲做善，他说希望可以超度她，然后他就问佛，又问比丘佛，怎么办呢？就是不同生命不同的人，那个广目女还有婆罗门女他就说舍去一切，卖了所有的财产，拿钱就做供养。你看这种的诚信很少，谁能这样做呢？我们师父能这样做，对的那么然后呢再继续读下去，那个地藏经里边地藏菩萨也会特别对于女人有一些实用的一些知识，好比说生孩子应该怎么做呢？你做供养怎么样做呢？或者你来生你又愿意做女人，你可以做更殊胜的一个生平，一个家族。那或者呢，你不愿意做女人，你可以做男人，就有这种的有用的实用的一些知识，就在地藏经里边了。So 那我就注意了。So I really paid attention to that. Also, when you see the Chinese version, the images in the Chinese Mahayana of Restore Bodhisattva, it's an amazing story. This is an amazing story. Just the basic, where he says, until the hells are empty, I'm not going to leave. If the hells are not empty, I'm going to stay. Well, when do the hells get empty? There are people making the karma that will send them to the hells right now. Right? So he's saying voluntarily, Restore Bodhisattva will live in a neighborhood, in an environment, an ecosystem that only somebody with the best, pure, yang heart could endure. He's willing to stay in the hells and find ways to take beings across. That story by itself is enough to just open your heart to the possibility that someone could live like that, someone could have that level of goodness. To the fires of the hells don't make him move. What kind of strength does that take? Oh my goodness. 就说你一听到地藏菩萨的故事，尤其汉传佛教这种大愿地藏王菩萨，就说什么大愿呢？地狱为空，誓不成佛。这种愿力呢，谁有这么大的势力？就是你的心呢，纯阳，就像太阳那么大的光明，这么 就说黑暗的一个环境，这么不好的一个地区，你也不退了，你就一点都不退心，你就说我愿意在这个地方住，你还有众生在这里没有读完了，我就不离开了。哇，谁能做得到？就是人能做得到，可是个特别的人，心根坚固的一个人就纯阳的所以那个故事我真的注意了，我就说就羡慕。There he is. Look at that 四不像。Oh my goodness. 他做的那个名著四不像。Very wonderful. He has a 6-ring pewter staff. He's got a wish-fulfilling pearl. He's got the 5 Buddha's crown. And he's wearing a monk's robe. Definitely wearing a monk's robe. 他手里拿着一个锡杖，他左手拿个如意珠，然后他头上戴着一个无佛冠、无佛顶。这个最重要呢，应该说对我们来讲呢，是他穿的是比丘像袈裟他是就像一个比丘，不容易啊，不容易。基础菩萨是悉伽罗菩提萨埵大愿地藏王菩萨。Yeah. Okay, I want to show you something here. So there's a song that I'd like to share. It goes, I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. To end her mother's misery was her quest. Notice the pronoun, her. Restore Sutra begins with a heroic woman. To end her mother's misery was her quest. She wanted to take her mother out of suffering. Her vows she professed, a filial child, so blessed. To end her mother's misery was her quest. She made vows, because she was filial, to take her mother out of suffering. That's how we remember Restore Bodhisattva. And then the chorus, I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. And then, once she becomes Restore, she's a male again. He makes his home deep in the hells. He makes his home deep in the hells. It's deep in the hells this Bodhisattva dwells. Makes his home deep in the hells. Nasty neighborhood. He shakes his staff and makes the suffering end. He shakes his staff and makes the suffering end. Then living being's karma starts the whole thing up again after he shakes his staff and the suffering ends. That's this irony that he can make the suffering in the hells end, and then because we living beings just can't get enough of harming ourselves and others, so it starts up again and he's got to go right back. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. Saving those who've transgressed is the thing that he does best. Till the hells are empty, he won't rest. Yep, that's Restore. The fires of the hells won't make him move. The fires of the hells won't make him move. So firm are his vows, he'll stay there till we improve. Fires of the hells won't make him move. I return and rely on the Bodhisattva, king of great vows. Okay, then that last verse goes, it's best to practice patience when you're stressed. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. King Yama is unimpressed with your cries of protest. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. bit of advice from Restore Bodhisattva。对了，那就说这个什么歌呢？我皈依净土大愿地藏。Let's see here， 地藏 ，Here we go。大愿地藏王菩萨，我皈依，我依赖大愿地藏王菩萨，为救他母亲离苦，他发大愿。为救母亲离苦，他发大愿，孝心昭然，立誓不变。为救母离苦，他发大愿。我皈依，我依赖大愿地藏王菩萨，他安住地狱深渊，他安住地狱深渊，菩萨住处就在狱间。他安住地狱深渊 ，OK， 地藏王菩萨 ，OK， 手中锡杖一震动，手中锡杖一震动，众生业气苦忧重重。手中锡杖一震动，就是这么辛苦就说众生这个不是翻译的很恰当，就说地狱空了一会儿，然后呢，又菩萨又堕落，又遭罪又从头开始。我皈依，我依赖大愿地藏王菩萨。地狱未空，誓不成佛；地狱未空，誓不成佛。就把罪人罪未能释，地狱未空，誓不成佛。OK， 不错。烈火不能令其疑，烈火不能令其疑。大愿坚固，致众生觉悟，致众生觉悟。烈火不能令其疑。OK，Here we go。最后逆境之事当忍辱。逆境之事当忍辱，阎罗王前呼号无助。不错，逆境之事当忍辱。Okay, there we go. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, King of Great Vows. Okay. Ready? You know what it says in the Restore Sutra, that if we can recite and if we can take refuge in and rely on Restore Bodhisattva, it wipes away our karma. That's the very first important step. So you can say, I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva, King of Great Vows. That's what we want. So this singing the song is actually bringing us closer to Restore Bodhisattva. 你唱这个歌 I return, I rely, 我皈依，我依赖大愿地藏王菩萨，就会消业了那就得到地藏菩萨的安住，他的那个慈悲的关照。所以这个是唱歌不妨没有害处。I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of Great Vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of Great Vows. To end her mother's misery was her quest. To end her mother's misery was her quest. Her vow she professed, filial child so blessed. To end her mother's misery was her quest. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of Great Vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of Great Vows. He makes his home deep in the hills. He makes his home deep in the hills. Deep in the hills that this Bodhisattva dwells. Makes his home deep in the hills. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vow. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vow. He shakes his staff and makes the suffering end. He shakes his staff and makes the suffering end. Living beings, karma starts the whole thing up again after he shakes his staff and the suffering end. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vow. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vow. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. Until the hells are empty, he won't rest. Saving those who've transgressed is the thing that he does best. Till the hells are empty, he won't rest. Wanna join me now? I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vow. The fires of the hells won't make him move. The fires of the hells won't make him move. So firm are his vows, he'll stay there till we improve. Fires of the hells won't make him move. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vows. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. King Yama's unimpressed with your screams of protest. It's best to practice patience when you're stressed. Last chance, I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vow. I return, I rely on the Bodhisattva King of great vow. So by singing that chorus, we have said that we return and rely on Dizampusa. That's pretty good. That's a step forward. 就说我们能常念我皈依，我依赖地藏王菩萨，那就进一步，在菩提道上就有再进一步。So we were in Malaysia traveling. We were in Cameron Highlands. There was a very large Buddhist monastery, and they had a grand opening. And for some reason, we're not entirely sure, the abbot, who was the one who built the temple, immediately upon the dedication decided to go into seclusion. And we arrived the day after the grand opening, and the place was abandoned. There was just nobody there, just a caretaker. Everybody had eaten the food and bowed to the Buddha and lit incense and then gone home. So we were there the next day, and this Bhikshuni, who was a caretaker, took us up to the third floor, brand new, huge monastery. And here was the abbot who had built the place. And he was behind a door with the tape over the door that said, not coming out, Guanbi, in seclusion. And he had a sliding panel so you could see his eyes. And as Shifu walked up to the door, we could see the eyes of the abbot. They got really wide. And then he disappeared. And then he came back up, and we realized he was bowing behind the door. And then he bowed again. And then he came back up, and then he bowed a third time. And then his eyes were very wide. He said, "Oh, Dizang Pusa has come to my Guanfang. Guanyin Bodhisattva has come to my Guanfang," he said. And he repeated himself 3 times. Dizang Pusa has come. Guanyin Pusa has come. We're like, what is this old monk seeing that we're not seeing? It's our teacher. Yeah, so Restored Bodhisattva is, you know him by his vows, definitely, and also by his patience. 就有一天在马来西亚跟随上人去马来西亚，我们去那个Cameron Highlands， 就是金马伦哈，那个有一个很大很大的寺庙，就开光。我们是虽然受邀请，我们就没办法就赶到那个开光的仪式，我们就后一天了，所以开光已经过后了，第2天了。我们到了，那个停车场就空了，没车子，就进去也看不到人了，就大家就香都烧过了，佛都拜过了，饭都吃完了。这个有一个比丘尼在那儿，给我们开门。我们到从1楼到2楼，从2楼到3楼，就3楼呢就到奇怪那边的大方丈就闭关了，就开光就结束了，他就入关房，就把那个纸贴到门外，然后师父就直接到他的门前，那个人有一个小小的门可以看外边，就我们就看到他的眼睛了，就在那个小那个窟窿，就那个人眼睛长大，那个法师，然后不见了，又起来了，他在里边礼拜，上师父的门外就礼拜。从门内又礼拜，然后呢，那个法师他的声音里边恭恭敬敬的就说：“地藏菩萨来了，什么观音菩萨到我的关房来。”然后他说了3遍：“地藏菩萨来了，又观音菩萨也来了。”就这样子毕恭毕敬的说。那我们跟随上人就，这个老法师看到什么呢？奇怪，然后师父就跟他讲几句，就没有多说，就祝福了就走了。所以Restored Bodhisattva is truly a hero for the modern age, and that sutra has got treasures in it. If somebody was going to memorize a useful sutra, I would certainly recommend they memorize the Vajra Diamond Sutra, medium length. But if you had time to memorize another sutra, medium length, I would recommend Restore Sutra. You get incredible protection and wisdom and practical knowledge and an insight into the way the world really works, both in the yin and the yang realms. 就说那个地藏菩萨念经不可思议。如果某一个人就说我愿意背诵经书，不要太长了，就可以比较中等的，我就会说金刚经，金刚般若波罗蜜经。如果你还有时间了，你就念诵地藏菩萨本愿经。 你都会得到就一辈子的这个保护、守护，然后你都会得到这个出世的智慧还有这个入世的知识，你可以懂得这个阴界和阳界一般人没办法知道的，就没办法听的一些实实在在的知识。So that's my recommendation. First Door Sutra is just too wonderful. Okay, now keeping up with our tradition on the Ten Transferences lectures, we're going to look again at Master Xuanzang, who was also a hero for the time. 玄奘大师也是个大英雄，佛教里边的大英雄。Okay. Now, where is he? He is in a place called Ramalama. Ramalama Ding Dong. Here we go. Where is it? Take a look. Here it is. Right there. And you see it's very remote. Master Xuanzang is leaving Kapilavastu and he's going to this place on his way over to the Bodhi tree. So he's still in Nepal, far from 500 miles from Kapilavastu, and he's heading for Bihar and the Bodhi tree. See if I can see it in a hurry. Bodhi tree is down here, but no, I don't see it at the moment. Okay, that's where he is, right there. Kapilavastu was here, 500 miles, and this is really, really remote. 玄奘大师呢，就离开 Kapilavastu， 就是金饭王的家如果那个太子要做国王，他就在这个地方，就是他的王国他就到这个地方偏僻。然后 let's take a look。从此东行，荒林500余里，至蓝摩国，居人稀少不多，故城东南有转速度波，高50余尺。如来涅槃后，此国先王分得舍利，换而造业，梅芳光明。To the southeast of the old city. Okay, from Kapilavastu, the master traveled east through a wild forest for more than 500 li, till he reached the country of Rama, sparsely populated. So this is a tough, not tough, it's wild, wilderness. To the southeast of the old city was a brick stupa more than 50 feet high. After the nirvana of the Buddha, the king of the country got the relics. He built a stupa when he returned home, and the stupa often issued bright light. Let's keep looking. I'll give you pictures in a minute. 其侧有龙指，龙树边身为人，小塔行道，绕塔行道，也像鲜花常来供养。Beside the stupa was a dragon's pool, and the dragon often transformed itself into a man and circled around the stupa. Wild elephants always came with flowers to offer to the stupa. So, a magical place. Lots of miracles here. 这个是就说这个很多奇妙的事情发生。龙成人修行，你做龙的身体绕它不方便。然后呢，这个野象他们都野象都来供养鲜花，很奇妙。This is talking about the power of the Buddha's sharira, power of relics. 起次不远有伽蓝， 以沙弥之4任。相传昔有比丘赵明同学原来礼拜，见野象鲜花安置塔前，复以雅山草一笔洒水。Near it was a monastery with a Shramanera as an abbot, a Shami, not a bhikshu. It was said in tradition that once a bhikshu came with some of his fellow monks from a far distance to worship the stupa. They saw the elephant offering flowers to put in front of the stupa. They cleared the weeds, and clearing the weeds with their tusk, sprinkling water on the ground with their trunks. 所以就说曾经有一个比丘看到这个野象这样做，很特殊。怎么说野兽会有这种恭敬？灵性已经发了。So a bhikshu came along, saw wild elephants behaving like this. Just clearly, they're not ordinary. They have their Buddha nature is already functioning, even though they're in an elephant's body. 众见我不感叹，有一比丘遍舍大戒，愿留供养，为众人曰：象是畜生，也知净塔，献花洒扫，我具人类，依佛出家，岂可目睹荒残不共食也？ Everybody was moved by the sight, and the bhikshu gave up the major precepts, volunteered to stay there in order to look after the stupa. He said to the other monks, the elephants are animals, yet they know to pay homage to the stupa by offering flowers and keeping the place clean. I'm a human being. I've renounced my home under the guidance of the Buddha. How come I'm not looking after the stupa when I've seen that it's broken down in a desolate condition? 祭词众注，绝于书持，种花植果，虽设寒暑，不以老眷，邻国闻之，各舍财宝，共建伽蓝，任即趋之僧物，自此相成，虽为古事矣。Okay, thus he parted with the others and stayed behind. He built a house, tilled the land to plant flowers and fruit trees in the hot and cold seasons without ever feeling tired. The people of the neighboring countries heard about this and donated money to build a monastery and invited the monk to be the abbot. So the abbot of this monastery has always been a Shramanera, not a bhikshu, since that time to the present. 就说虽然是沙弥，他的诚心就感动邻居，他们都就供养，就愿意做一个塔，做一个塔庙，他就住了。虽然是沙弥，他也是方丈。Okay, so we hear about that and we think, oh, what's that like? Okay, so it's like this. Here's the stupa in a tree. 这是那个塔，塔是一个坑，不是坑，一个山丘。Okay, here it is. 前边是那棵树，后边是那个塔，现在还在。So the stupa is still there. That tree that we saw here is in front. We're looking from the side. It's a mound, but that's what a stupa was. 高显处. The fact that it's still, 2,500 years later, still here, Master Xuanzang saw it. 玄奘法师也见到了，也看到。Walk around on the walkway, nice flags. Here's a memorial. People walking. There we are. Rama Grama. stupa. This is a small replica of an Ashoka pillar. 这是阿育王造的塔，小小。So, Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, you could say, here it is, the Buddha's relics divided into 8 shares by Brahman, the Shakya clan, the Kolya clan, the Mallas clan, the Brahmins, the Lichabis, the Mauryas, and 2 different kinds of Mauryas. The 8 families got the stupas. 就说8个家族就受到释迦牟尼佛的舍利子，然后造了塔。有个塔你怎么做，你就绕塔。这个净恒品，华严经的净恒品说了很多对于这个绕塔的寄送，还有它的好处。如果哪一位到了 GCDR， 到了我们澳大利亚，我们也有宝塔，有释迦牟尼佛的舍利子，还有师父上人的舍利子，都可以让。我们有寄送，告诉大家怎么念。Okay, here we go. So these are, the interesting thing is that Master Xuanzang in the early Tang Dynasty passed right by here on his way to Nalanda. And you can see where this is near Kathmandu in Nepal. And he saw it and he told the story. I was reading the other day that, here's Bodhgaya right there. The journals that Master Xuanzang left were so accurate. When he says 500 li, that's exactly 500 li. The government of India, especially for these regions where nobody goes, they used Master Xuanzang's journal as the accurate geological survey up until just the advent of GPS. So when they could do it by satellite. So what an amazing picture. 就说玄奘法师他说500里就是500里，印度的政府一直到有太空船的这个 GPS 的度量法，他们就用玄奘法师的笔记当一个正确的一个地图，就因为这里没有人去了，这些地方So how incredible that we have that teacher as our role model, and we can still remember his stories. Okay, time to dedicate merit. I hope your Earth Store Bodhisattva session goes well. Please use the best of efforts and sincerity to recite the sutra, cultivate his mantra. Only good things will result. 就祝各位就要勇猛精进，在那儿把地藏菩萨的法修成了，这是难得的机会，希望各位不浪费机会啊。May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow relieve their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay, before we close, we will bow to the Buddhas. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. That's going to do it for us for today. We'll see you all next week. Amitofo. Bye now.
Thank you, 师法师。
阿弥陀佛。